I saw the new Daredevil show, Disney loaf show, Marvel loaf, but this wasn't very loaf. It was better. It reminds me of when I was a young bab, finishing season 1 of the Netflix show and reviewing it in pretty much one of the first one of these. Yeah, the new Daredevil. This is making me very nostalgic because the first season when that ended, I was very like passionate about liking it and how it was refreshing. And I think at the time it was like Batman v Superman had come out, and I was like getting tired of like DC's weird take on things. I don't know if I was quite sick of. I think I was starting to get sick of Marvel's very loafy feel to everything they fucking make. Well, Disney. It was everything Disney makes. I filmed a lot of these since then. Collectively, they have like 1,000 views. I still want to talk about the new Daredevil, just like I talked about the old Daredevil. Because just like the old, I'm gonna put on my headphones because my head looks weird. Yeah, it's great. It's now I'm reverse Daredevil. Yeah, it feels like what was it, 4th season? How many fucking seasons does the original have? I loved that one. I got kind of tired of it after a while because I mean all the Netflix shows kind of start feeling samey each episode, but overall they were like good, and the Daredevil one was easily the best of them. And this feels a lot like that. Like, it felt weird seeing a Kevin Feige production because, I mean, it wasn't really because he hated the Netflix run stuff. The studio heads between Marvel Loaf Studios and Netflix Loaf Studios weren't really getting along. So he kind of just didn't want the Netflix shows as part of his big MCU Loaf universe. But like over the years, he's been integrating Daredevil and others because people fucking like Daredevil, and he kind of like acquiesced to it because money. But anyway, yeah, it's weird seeing this as his production when he was so against it, and this is so not like his wheelhouse. But at the same time, it's like if he helped bring it back and kind of kept it faithful to the Netflix shows, then good on him. Also, this is my Logitech camera. Apparently it's alive, Charmy. I was using a shitty other camera that taught me how to turn low light compensation off and then things run better or something. So yeah, Marvel Netflix Daredevil show, it's 2 episodes in, I think, so far. Yeah, because after I finished the first 2, it was suggesting I watch a similar show called Daredevil. But they're good. They're definitely in keeping with the original series. It feels like a season 4. Certainly plods along at times like one. Just kidding, I like it. There's gonna be spoilers, so yeah, it starts off in a big way with Foggy Nelson just getting fucking murked by Bullseye. Part of the reason things kind of plot along kind of at a slower pace in the second half of the first episode and the second episode until the end is because things heat up fast in the first episode. Like I said, Foggy dies and Bullseye and Daredevil fight in one of those like one shot or one cut kind of things, and it's awesome because Bullseye is just lobbing these knives he has into Daredevil while Daredevil's just like trying to use less lethal ways but still smacking him around with his like batons and shit and trying to protect people while Bullseye's trying to kill them. And like it ends up in a cool moment on top of the roof of this bar they were at, where Daredevil basically he has Bullseye beaten and they're struggling at like the edge of a roof, at the edge of the roof, and he hears like Foggy's dying below. He hears him die, and he just kind of like nonchalantly pushes Bullseye off the edge, and he finally snapped and tried to kill someone like fully after all the other times he had to fight the urge and suppress like his murderous rage. He just lets go kind of quickly and instantly when Foggy's dead. He's just like, fuck you, and just pushes the guy off. You see the guy just plop on the ground too, so this is definitely rated R. Like I thought I'd heard F-bombs up to this point from like a bunch of people in the bar before the fight, and I mean Daredevil's getting stabbed too. He's got knives sticking out of him. Bullseye threw a ton at him, so I mean it definitely is the same rating as the show. But then things slow down and it's like a year later and Matt has tried to like move on and he's done being Daredevil because he crossed a line trying to kill Bullseye and they put him in jail. He's at his trial. And he and Karen have like broken up and stopped being friends because Foggy's death drove them apart, and she kind of leaves. I hope she shows up later. I hope that wasn't like an excuse for her not to be in the show that much. I think it was up in the air who all was going to be in it, but that's kind of like MCU standard. It's to just lie and hide how things are going to go. So it's good to see this is kind of joining the fold. Which reminds me, they mentioned things from MCU. Kingpin's been piecing his life back together. It's not really sure how long after the original series this is. I think it's supposed to be real time, because I believe Kingpin shows up in the Hawkeye show. I mean, I know he does, but I think when he does at that point, it had been that long since he appeared in the Netflix show, so a few years. But he gets plugged in the fucking head in Hawkeye, and that actually plays into this show, because his wife has kind of grown distant from him because he disappeared while trying to recover, because he got plugged in the fucking head by, I think, Echo is her name. So Vanessa has taken over the business. He decides he's gonna become a good man because he wants to see what he could do for the city. He realized this while his brain was floating around in his skull in pieces. So yeah, he becomes mayor. I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, we already had bald, powerful man become president of the U.S. And I don't mean Donald Trump, though this show does seem to be kind of an allegory for that. So yeah, it's kind of like Lex Luthor already did that on a bigger scale, but we'll see how this goes. It's gonna be more grounded, I guess, and more about New York. He's still up to like dirty ways. He blackmails the chief of police to not leave. I mean, you think he's like threatening his family, but really he's like threatening with knowledge of an illegitimate child. So it's not quite as bad, but he's still blackmailing. He's not threatening. It's just, you know, like, hey, I know about this. I'm gonna tell everybody, ruin your family or something. And then the whole while he's like, so per our agreement, no cap on overtime or whatever, no raise, no expanded cadet training classes. We got a deal? Because he knew he had him with the blackmail. So I was like, damn. So he's still kingpinning. I mean, he was talking about how he wants to keep everything clean so that he can't be tied to anything, and they have to hide what Vanessa really like did to make her fortune, and he only accepted money for his campaign from clean sources, and he does seem to legitimately want to help, but he can't seem to really. He's still doing kingpin things, and like the whole point of this show, I think, is both he and Matt Murdock are like suppressing their real desires. Like Kingpin is more, he's saying his kingpin ways are past, or in the past he's been completely changed and is more worried about his wife and the future of New York, but he's clearly still doing some stuff. Meanwhile, Matt Murdock is actually done being Daredevil, but at the end of episode 2, he beats the fuck out of some cops that are going after a witness in a cop killer case, because some cops were beating a guy up, and another vigilante, White Tiger, comes in and accidentally kills one of them trying to break up that. And so the cops then later go to try and kill the guy that White Tiger was rescuing, and Matt Murdock is at the apartment instead, and they try to kill him. And up to this point, he had been suppressing his Daredevil like nature. He seemed completely over trying to be a vigilante, but Kingpin had even told him before that, like, you know, you liked the feeling of fighting Bullseye up on that roof. You have this darker half. Like, you can you really be done with that? And they're both threatening each other. They're like, Matt Murdock told him, you step out of line, I'll be there. Kingpin's like, oh yeah, which one of you? And if you do that vigilante shit again, I'll bring the full weight of the law. The long dick of the law will slap your cheeks. Anyway, so then Matt Murdock, as soon as they pull a gun on him, he lets these cops beat him up senseless. Then they pull a gun on him and he's like, don't do this. And it's kind of like a half begging way, because he's trying to put on like a front, but once the gun's put to his head, he fucks them up. Like, he might have killed them. I don't know. Like, there's two of them. He slams one's head into a table, and I think there's blood and glass splattering when he does it. And then another guy, he fucking throws him into the ground head first, and he's just kind of limp. So I don't know how alive these guys are. I don't think he's crossing the line anymore, but he tried it once with Bullseye. The episode just ends with him screaming because he gets like a rush from doing that shit again. Back in the day, I used to kind of clamor to see him get in the goddamn suit. In season 1, it took forever for him to make it. Season 3, it gets stolen by Bullseye, so he goes back to his old black suit, his like little cheapy suit. But now, like, I don't know, I just want to see him do shit. I don't care if he's Daredevil or not. Just seeing him fuck those guys up, that was awesome. Like that was very much like the original Netflix show. And the fight with Bullseye, amazing. Like you couldn't even see a lot of it, but it was gritty. It was not too zoomed in. You could see things, and it was fucking real and still cool. And it kind of reminds me though, they've like sprinkled in some CGI kind of MCU style, like when he's swinging on the roof and shit, and like when a train passes White Tiger, because the way he killed one of those cops was by accidentally tripping him, so he falls onto the tracks and the train hits him. But it like they superimpose him standing before the train as it's zooming by, and it looks kind of. There are like shots of Wilson Fisk doing speeches that I don't know if they're supposed to look corny, but they definitely look like he's standing against a green screen. And like the swinging and shit that they use CGI for Daredevil is kind of jarring at times. Like the first time you kind of see him, I guess, he swings onto a roof, and from when he's swinging to when he stands there, it's kind of jarring. It's like CGI, then all of a sudden Real Man, John Reelman. So that was kind of weird. But I do like the way they're kind of... The way the loaf is absorbing the show. They've worked the characters into the MCU. They've referenced things that kind of happen across them. And they mentioned Spider-Man! I forgot! I was going to mention that before. My fucking memory meat sucks. Wilson Fisk mentions how, like, one thing he doesn't like is vigilantes. I mean, Echo shot him in the fucking head. I don't even know if she was really a vigilante at the time. She was a fucking criminal. But he's also sour on getting his shit kicked in by Daredevil a bunch. But during a New Year's televised speech thing, he talks shit about Punisher. He's like, this city needs control, not a dickhead with a skull on his chest using guns and a guy that's dressed like a spider. I was like, damn, Kingpin. I mean, he was a Spider-Man villain originally, and he's talking shit about him. So that was cool. There's a lot of crossover happening between the two. I'm hoping somebody shows up. It's very possible. I gotta stay on watching these fucking episodes before things get spoiled. I don't even know when this show came out, but I'm hoping nothing gets ruined, because Foggy's death was a big deal. That's a major character, and he's fucking dead in the first 20 minutes. He's gone, which, like, the history this show has and that he's part of, and his ass just got iced. He is, I mean, part of the MCU now. They could always come up with some shit to bring him back, but Ben Urich's daughter is kind of going after Kingpin now, too. Like, there's some nostalgia and stuff. This makes me feel old as fuck, but it's pretty good so far. I might review, like, more of the episodes little by little and goon over the show. I really like it. And my computer's not shutting down like it was during that last stream. So this was a good way to test it. It was talking about Daredevil, like I did all those years ago. Anyway, watch Daredevil. Here's hoping it stays good. True. Also, I did not realize these headphones aren't even plugged in.